Tess Lucy with you until 1 o'clock, and my special guest in the studio this morning. I'm very excited. I've never interviewed an actor this morning, or any time. Hello to Joseph Booton. I am pronouncing that right, aren't I?
You are, Tess, yes.
Fantastic. Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us at Redstone FM. How are you?
No worries. Thank you for having me, Tess. Yeah, really good, thank you. It's a bit of a cold morning out there.
It is a little bit, but the sun is shining. It makes up for it.
That's what we like.
It does. So, when did you first become interested in acting?
From a very young age, actually. I sort of became interested in acting before I knew I became interested in acting. My mum always says I had a role in a school play when I was very young, and one of my teachers came up to her afterwards. I think it was Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, which is quite apt, really, and said, I think your son has got quite a passion and quite a skill for acting. And she said, well, I think you must have the wrong child. My son's very quiet and doesn't like to make a scene or anything like that. So it sort of developed from there, and at school, you know, it took part in all the plays, and that sort of inspired me from there. And obviously as a child, going to the cinema and watching films on television and going to the theatre.
So what actually inspired you to become an actor?
It's probably difficult to pinpoint one particular moment where sort of a light came on, but from my childhood, certainly, I can remember very vividly watching Robin Williams' performance in Mrs. Doubtfire. I certainly remember that as a great childhood film, and for me that was just amazing that someone could not only perform a role but perform many roles within roles as well, and it was, you know, a drag act in all rolled into one as well, and he had such a great multifaceted character in that it was so amazing that he could adopt so many different personalities and voices as well, and it was his performance alone was entertainment, and that would have just been amazing for me to achieve that level of ability. So that is a particular role that sort of stood out for me, that inspired me.
And a brilliant film as well.
Oh, absolutely, yes, absolutely. One of the classics.
So you took part in some school plays. Have you done any professional training?
Well, that's very interesting, actually. I'm often asked that. When I came to the end of my time at college, I had to make a decision as to what I wanted to do, and acting stood out for me as a path that I wanted to take. But I actively did not choose to go to drama school. Right. And a lot of people are quite surprised by that decision, but in a non-egotistical way, I wanted to get more of a well-rounded education. And drama school is great, but I do think that you tend to be stuck with, well, you are stuck with the same people for 3 years, and it's very sort of narrow-minded and closed environment that you're educated in, whereas university you get much more of a well-rounded education. So I actually trained at Royal Holloway University, which is part of the University of London. Okay. It's one of the colleges, and I studied drama and theatre studies there.
Well, I guess if you had your teachers thought you had a natural talent, I guess it came easily to you.
It did, yes. It's something you've always got to work on, because at the end of the day, it is a craft, and a lot of people think, you know, you can just wing it, but you can't. You do have to practice daily, and you do have to know the business side of it as well, because it is called show business, the key word being business. So you have to have a business acumen as well. You can't just sort of rest on your laurels of being a good actor and a showman. You have to really nail the business side of it as well.
Yeah, it's like with myself. Put me in a room full of people. I mean, I really admire people such as yourself. I mean, my brother-in-law is in show business, and not as an actor though, but I get up on the stage or I get in a room full of people, I just lose it. I cannot do it at all. And sit me here. Okay, yeah, I don't claim to be brilliant. I stumble over my words. I forget things. My listener knows that. I never know what day of the week it is. But
well, we all do that. I mean, every actor, whether they'd like to admit it or not, has some level of nerves. It is varying degrees from actor to actor. I've been very fortunate, actually, that I've never suffered from complete stage fright. But one of my first forays onto stage did actually turn out to be a complete and total utter disaster. Oh dear. It was at school, and I had a friend, and we absolutely loathed physical education PE classes. We hated it. We hated sports gym classes, and one of the ploys we had to reduce the time that we would be doing PE was to spend as long as possible in the changing rooms getting changed. So we had badminton lesson. I remember it was badminton lesson, and they took place in the school hall, in which there is a very nice stage, very proscenium arch with lovely red velvet curtains, very professional. And there's two ways to get into the school hall to have your badminton class. You can either go the long way, which takes you through the main entrance that the audience would come through, or there's the back way, which takes you up the back stairs directly onto backstage, and then you just jump off from the stage into the hall. So we had a song going through our head, don't ask me why, I can't remember, we were about 13 at the time, sort of, I am a lollipop, I am a lollipop. So
okay.
we thought what would be quite funny, seeing as we're the last people out of the changing rooms, is to sneak up onto the stage and jump out in front of our class in our PE kits, our tight white shirts and blue shorts, and sing I'm a lollipop, I'm a lollipop. So we climbed up the stairs and we creaked open the back door of the stage, and everything was quiet, and we thought, perfect, our teacher must be taking the register. And we jumped out onto the stage and singing I'm a lollipop, I'm a lollipop, with some great massive flamboyant arm movements, and there was complete silence. And unbeknownst to us, the Barrington class had actually been moved because the hall was being used for the end of year GCSE exams. So 300 odd heads tilted from looking down at their papers up 90 degrees to the stage to see these two spindly boys in their PE kits shouting I'm a lollipop, I'm a lollipop in the middle of their very important GCSE exams. And we ran off, and needless to say, I think every time an exam is now held in that hall, the stage curtains are closed.
No, it's a fantastic story. Absolutely brilliant.
And needless to say, I think that was a good starting point, because I don't think I could go any worse than that.
Oh, no, that's brilliant. I love that. Did you get into trouble, though?
No, we didn't. I think we ran off too fast, and everyone was a complete shock. But I like to think it was entertaining, so even the first stage act was a bit of entertainment in itself, if not for us at the time.
Oh, fantastic. I really love that. So, with your acting, has it taken you out of the country? Have you travelled with it? And if so, where have you been?
So I've been to America.
Ooh.
When I graduated, I went out there for 2 years. I studied for a year to do film acting, because I'd done theatre acting before. Mm-hmm. And then I worked out there for a year. And I've also been out there. I do Punch and Judy shows as well, as a side business as well. So I've been out to Texas, to Houston, to do performances of my Punch and Judy puppet show out there as well. But the 2 years I lived out there, I was living in Los Angeles.
Oh, lovely.
And I had a great time out there. I'd love to go back.
Fantastic. And what roles have you played then?
Well, the highlights of my career so far, I played the lead roles in 2 independent feature films that were filmed out in Los Angeles. They were both comedies, and I enjoyed each one equally. The first film is MILF, the movie, and the second is The Newest Pledge. And I play... Okay, the British are very much seen by the Americans as the anti-hero, so it's very stereotypical to be cast as the villain if you've got a British accent. It's either the villain or a pirate is sort of the stretch of their imagination for British actors starting out in their careers. So I played the lead antagonist of The Newest Pledge, and he was basically the leader of a nerdy society at college. It's a college comedy about a group of guys in a society living in a house together. They get a ding-dong on the door, and a baby turns up on their doorstep with a tag attached to it that says this is yours. So they've got to spend the film working out who the baby is and using their completely incompetent parenting skills to at least try to bring up a child. And all the while they're running for election at their local university to be head of the societies in general. And I play the lead antagonist, who is the head of a rival fraternity of complete nerds whose job it is to sort of campaign against them and try and take their child away from them.
Oh, that sounds good. I'll have to see if I can hire that. But how did you find getting on being a British actor in America?
There are a lot of stereotypes that get applied to you. I think that it's very difficult when people know you are British for them to see you as anything else. There are a lot of very established British actors. Damien Lewis springs to mind as one who has forged a very successful career out in America. And I think if you're going to go out there, you need to perfect the American accent. And it's quite interesting, actually, because a lot of British actors do go out there and start their careers out there, or go out there when they're known over here but not in America. And they put on American accents when they play their roles, and they're seen as American actors, and it's only when they come on and do radio interviews or with chat shows that they speak in their native British tongue, and the audience says, wow, actually that's a British actor there. So it is quite difficult to break out that stereotype, and you are, as I said before, often cast as sort of the bad guy roles, or period pieces, or pirate films. But I think if you can perfect the American accent which I managed to, but I'm not going to give you a rendition now. It opens up a lot of doors for you, but it's even more competitive than the London market, even more so. So it's very tough. But one thing I will say that I do like about the American marketplace is that the emphasis is a lot more on what you've done rather than where you've studied, whereas over here it is very much where you've studied more than what you've done. So if you've been to the big drama schools, that gets you kudos over here, but over in America it's very much what have you done, which I like, is nice and refreshing. Indeed.
Which do you prefer then, theatre or film acting?
Oh, this is a very tough question. They're both completely different mediums. Theatre's nice because you have that long rehearsal period and a chance to work on the piece and perform in front of a live audience, which is always great, and anything can go wrong, whereas film and television is very short. You're expected to basically do the rehearsal period in your own time and turn up to set with a fully polished piece ready to go, and obviously it's heavily edited. They're both unique in their own ways. It's hard to say which one I prefer. In general, film and television is a lot more lucrative than theatre, but theatre gives you that sort of nice sort of primal performance opportunity. We're performing in front of live people, and I think there are a lot of actors who can do film and television but can't do theatre, and vice versa, because they do require different skills. But theatre is a lot more unforgiving in some ways, and I think I enjoy that the most.
Okie dokie. Is there a role or a character you would really love to play?
I think the holy grail for any male actor is Hamlet. I don't know if I'm quite ready for that yet. I think great comedy roles, I know that sounds very general, but great comedy roles would be brilliant, especially roles that require characters within characters. So going back to the late Robin Williams in Mrs. Doubtfire, would be a great character. Jim Carrey is great, quite over the top acting though, but he works. He is seen as that. That's his brand. So I would say roles that make people laugh. At the end of the day, I think film, television, theatre is about entertaining people. There is an educational aspect to a lot of productions as well, but I think it's primarily about entertainment.
So you mentioned you were in a comedy. Is that your favourite type of acting, or would you like to try a thriller or something like that?
It's the one that I find I can perform with the most ease. So it's the one I feel most naturally comfortable in. I don't claim to be the funniest person alive, but it's certainly something that I feel it is sort of in your bones and you can do quite easily. So I would like to try more serious roles, especially Shakespeare and classical texts. I did a few when I was at university, Christopher Marlowe texts and Ben Jonson texts, and a dabble of Shakespeare. But Shakespeare is so multifaceted. There's so much to get from it, and you look at actors like Kenneth Branagh, and he did a film version of Hamlet. It's the only that I'm aware of film version of Hamlet where they've recorded the entire script. It's just over 4 hours long.
Wow.
And his performances, along with those of Judi Dench and Kate Winslet, are amazing, because although he's talking in a language that is hundreds of years old, he comes across as if he's just talking in a very conversational modern day tone. And it's that mastery of Shakespeare that very few actors have, I think, that it doesn't sound like they're talking in heightened language. They are just talking normally because they have such a great understanding of it, and I think that's incredibly impressive and shows a great grasp of their craft.
So out of all the roles you've played, is there one in particular that stands out for you that you've really enjoyed?
Probably the ones that I did in the 2 feature films, MILF and The Newest Pledge in America. I would say they're the most standoutish because they are the most prominent and they've got me the most exposure, and they were sort of, the best roles you can get, lead roles in feature films. But they were great because the director I got to work with, Jason Michael Brescher, on The Newest Pledge, he's one of these directors that is very encouraging of actors to allow them to explore the text, so the script isn't set in stone. He gives you that opportunity to improvise on set, and that's amazing because you're not just creating and performing, but you're also finding new things as you go along. There was a great scene where someone accidentally fell down the stairs. Ooh. And we kept it in there because it is a great discovery, and there's little small things in there, and it gives you that sense of fun and play, which I think is really important. It's not just you turn up, you read these lines. It's okay, here you are, guys, we've got these lines, let's see how it goes and see what else you can bring to it.
Yes, now you've mentioned Robbie Williams.
Robin Williams.
That's what I meant, Robin Williams.
No, I don't want to be a singer. My singing voice is awful.
Robin Williams, that is what I meant. My apologies.
That's all right.
Is he your role model, or do you have someone else as a role model?
I'd say he's one of the role models. Yeah, certainly, because of his grasp of comedy is absolutely unparalleled, I think. A non-acting role model I've always been a big fan of the band Queen, and again, the late Freddie Mercury has always been a role model for me because he's such a great showman on stage, but then, when you look at him in interviews and you read about his private life, he's a very personal, quiet, down-to-earth, almost reserved individual, which I can sort of relate to as well. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm naturally flamboyant like a lot of people would perceive actors to be, and I think that's very admirable because he has those two sides to him. He can be a showman when he needs to, but at the same time he is a very down-to-earth and well-grounded individual, and I think that's a good role model to have because you see a lot of celebrities nowadays and they lead incredibly extravagant and almost unethical lives, and you don't see that divide between them as an actor and them as an actual person. Their lives are great dramas as well. So I think it's important to very much have that grounded side to you as well. Remember who your family are, remember who your friends are. Remember at the end of the day, you are an individual, and don't let fame carry you away. And I think you see that in Freddie Mercury a lot. So that's very admirable.
So you're back in the UK now. Are you working on anything in particular at the moment?
Yeah, I just finished a short film this week, actually. I've got a play lined up in the coming months, which I can't talk too much about because the details haven't been released yet. So I have a lot of projects going on. I'm also working on some sketch shows as well. And I've got a television pilot that was made last year, and it's being picked up by a production company at the moment, so hopefully it will get made into a big series. We don't know. It's very uncertain, the television industry. Hundreds of pilots get made every year but never get turned into
as the saying goes, watch
series.
This space.
Exactly, watch this space.
Exactly. Well, you'll have to come back and tell us.
I will do, yes.
Definitely. And finally, have you any plans for the future? Are you going to go back to the States, or do you plan to stay here?
I'd love to go back to America, yes. I went a lot when I was a child, so it's not like it's a foreign country to me in that sense. And also the weather's a lot nicer than it is over here, and the people are a lot friendlier as well. I like America. I like, obviously, I'll always be an Englishman, but I would like to go back out there. There's also great perks as well. The British accent gets you. I always remember the ladies at the checkout closing up and then saying, "Oh, you're British," and opening up there. That was an awful American accent. That's not what my American accent is like. And opening up the checkouts for me, and you get lots of free things. Ooh. So I would like to go back out there. I'd like to carry on working in television and film, build up my profile, and then maybe get back into theatre. And who knows from there. But comedies is where I'd like to really sort of work in the comedic area, both on film and television. So maybe a new BBC Three comedy, or a new sort of
who knows,
Adam Sandler comedy, something like that, a slapstick, something like that. We'll see.
Have you ever thought of pantomime?
Oh gosh.
Oh no, he hasn't.
Oh yes, I have. Pantomimes require a lot of singing, which, as I've already said, I'm not very good at all, so they're sort of ruled out to me. I did do one when I was at university for Rag Week for charity, and I played the Dame in a pantomime version of Aladdin.
Oh, right.
And that was great fun. It was a bit too comfortable wearing women's clothing and makeup, so perhaps it's probably good that I don't go into that. I had great fun doing it.
Yeah.
So I think I'll leave pantomime. So
Yeah.
maybe when I've got a bit of more of a name to myself, I can sort of wing not being able to sing properly.
Okay, well, Joseph, thank you very much for popping into Redstone FM today.
Thank you for having me, Tess.
And we wish you all the best, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. Take care.